Jado, it's Benjamin D'Souza here, making a impromptu video, and I want to delve into this whole Tokyo Tony and Black China situation because it speaks to a larger problem within the black community, and you know, as much as the SYSBM brigade wants to separate ourselves from such fuckery and chicanery that goes on in the black community, this type of toxic behavior, the level of toxicity that I witnessed in some of these videos pertaining to Tokyo Tony and Black China, that shit spills over, it spills over. But I was on Jada Black's live stream, and he's making a live stream right now as we speak. It's like August the 5th. It's what, 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. And I got so, I don't know, disgusted in the manner in which Tokyo Tony, this mother of a woman who's a grown woman at that, was conducting herself, and she tried to spin it as if she's taking a high road. And Jada Black was saying in his live stream, like, yeah, these type of mothers do exist. And when he said that, because he said, I grew up in the hood, I grew up seeing this shit. And when he said that, that's what really did it for me. I was like, all right, let me hop off this this live stream and make this video, because I need to speak on this. Now, as many of you guys know who are familiar with my content, you know that throughout my adolescent years, I spent a significant portion in the suburbs of Kansas City, Missouri. But from elementary to my middle school years, I was in the hood, essentially, from K to 6, I was in the hood. I stood out in the line in the pouring rain and the snow to get through the metal detectors. So I know about that side. And when we moved out to the suburbs and shit, I go there, I'm like, y'all don't got metal detectors? You mean to tell me I can wear all one color up in this motherfucker? Straight up. If you're familiar with Kansas City, man, I went to, I don't even want to say the elementary school, because motherfuckers come across this, they know exactly who this is. Anyway, fuck it. I went to 3 Trails off of 32nd Street. 3 Trails, Science Math Magnet off of 32nd Street. Then when I got to middle school, I went to Southeast. And if you know anything about Kansas City schools, the middle school that you go to, they got a high school. So the middle school and the high school go hand in hand, and they're like right next to each other. So if you go to Southeast Middle, when you complete middle school, you're gonna go to Southeast High. If you go to, like, to say Central Middle, when you complete that, you're gonna go to Central High. Westport, et cetera, et cetera. Paseo, you know what I'm talking about. Everybody from the town know what I'm talking about. But anyway, I was going to Southeast Middle. Shout out to the Southeast Knights. You know what I'm talking about? But when I moved out to the burbs, it was a culture shock. It was a culture shock. And I know I'm digressing a bit, but Stick with me. I'll tie this shit up. You know, I'll tie this shit up. But so I'm familiar with that very hood mentality. You know, contrasted by suburb life. You know what I mean? So I know I seen the shit firsthand. I remember growing up on East 39th, down the block. It was a, a row of duplexes and whatnot, public assistant duplexes and Section 8 duplexes and whatnot. Police came through, SWAT came through one time. Kicked the doors in and shit. I remember that day very vividly. But there was a family that lived in these duplexes, and it was a single mom. She had 3 boys. I forgot the oldest boy name. He was a couple years older than me. But the middle child, who was around my age, his name was Justin, and he had a younger brother named Nick. Now it was clear, now that I think about it in retrospect, when I, reflect on the shit back in my mind, Nick was a crack baby. Now this was like early mid 90s. Nick was a crack baby. And me and those 3 brothers, we used to run around the neighborhood, play together, shit. We used to have sleepovers and shit. I'd sleep over at their house and whatnot. Nick ended up burning down the duplex playing with matches and shit, but that's another story. But their mom used to send them up to our house to borrow, let's say, $5 or $10 or whatnot from my parents. And they'd come to the door, my mom wants to this, that, and the third. I go ask my parents, and my dad or my mama give it to me and be like, hey, go ahead and give it to him. But yeah, dysfunctional mothers do exist in the black neighborhood. But when I moved to the suburbs, in a predominantly white suburb, I was going to school, and automatically as a defense mechanism, for the most part, the majority of the black kids kind of came together and congregated together. You did have your emo, and your punk rocker and your skater type of black dudes, and like your goth type of black dudes. You did have those, but they still was good with us. You know what I mean? Like the suburban kids that moved out there from the city. We all came together and shit. And then the suburban kids who was out there since elementary school. We never harassed them. We never gave them a hard time because shit, we was outnumbered. So, we always ingratiated ourselves to every black person to keep our numbers tight. You feel me? So it wasn't no shit like, the city kids that moved out to the suburbs were picking on the skater black kids. It wasn't that type of deal. You know what I mean? Like to this day, I'm still friends with a lot of the suburban black kids that grew up out there. And if you talk to them or see them, they are very culturally white. It's a couple black dudes who I grew up with out there. They're in a rock band. You know what I'm saying? But they know how to style switch or code switch or whatever, and they can talk that. They can talk that shit, or I can talk that shit with them, and we can kind of, relate. But anyway, I said that to say this, man. I had a homie, man. I ain't even gonna say his. I'm not gonna say his name. I'm not even gonna say his nickname, like his street name and shit. But let's call him Pooh, right? So Pooh, he moved out there because they started. And he was a son of a single mother, and they started opening up Section 8 housing developments in this suburb. So he moved out there, and went to a different high school than me because this high school had a program for for troubled children and whatnot. But that was my guy, man. Like shit, he had a sleepover at the crib and shit, man. You know, we up 12 o'clock at night eating Pizza Hut pizza, drinking soda and playing PlayStation 2 and shit. You feel me? But I'll never forget this shit, and this ties into that Black China and Tokyo Tony situation in the manner in which she was talking to Black China because I seen this firsthand. This shit is real, man. So I forgot where I was at. I was at somebody's apartment, somebody's duplex. It's like a Saturday night. It's like 11, 12 o'clock at night. And I go over Pooh's spot where Pooh was at or whatever, right? And his mother is there. Now Pooh is like a year or so older than me. Probably about a year and a half older than me or whatever. But his mother, we're in our early 20s at the time, and his mother was like maybe mid to late 40s, going into her early 50s or whatever. But in any event, I'm over there. It's late, you know. It's a Saturday night. You know, I fall through for a kickback. You know, if you familiar with Kansas City vernacular, a kickback is like a gathering. It's not a house party, but a kickback is just, you know, we going over somebody's house to drink and get high or whatever your poison is or whatever. So I go to this kickback and shit. His mom's is there. I walk in the spot. I'm like, I look at her like, you know, I glance at her like, damn, you a little bit too old to be out this goddamn late. You know, so I'm walking through the spot and shit, dapping everybody up, saying, you know, what's up, what's happening, this, that, and the third. And Pooh, this nigga laid out in the living room on the ground, drunk, high. This motherfucker fucked up out his mind. I don't know what he was on, but he was out of it. He was down for the count, basically. You feel me? And his mama was sitting in a chair. The woman who carried him for 9 months went through labor and pushed his old waterhead having ass out. You know what I'm saying? And it's a big dude too, man. This dude like 6'2", 6'3", you know, 270, 280 pounds. You feel me? Like he a heavyweight on some real shit. Like he a big dude. But he laid out on the ground and shit, drunk out his mind, got his hand over his eyes, you know, trying to collect himself. And his mama sitting right there, sitting right next to him. And she's saying, look at you. You ain't shit. Just like your daddy. You ain't shit. You ain't never gonna be shit. Like talking real cash shit to this nigga. Talking cold to him. And I stopped because this was really the first time I had ever seen anything to this level of demonic. It was just demonic in the manner in which she was talking to him. It was like every ill-willed emotion, thought, or feeling that she had towards Pooh's father, she was just dumping this shit on him. And you know, if any of you brothers are familiar with psychological programming in the subconscious mind, you would know that people are susceptible to subconscious programming when they're asleep or when they're in a dull state. And she knew exactly what she was doing, because she didn't say this shit when Pooh had all his faculties, you know, when he was sober and you know, all of his cognitive functions were operating at optimal efficiency and shit. No, she didn't do that shit then. She waited till that man was goddamn drunk and high out of his mind, You know, the room was probably spinning on his ass and shit. Then she got to, you know, as Baba Tunde Umana says, you know, as he calls, you know, a lot of these black women witches, you know, when I come to think about it, yeah, she was trying to work some sort of witchcraft on her own son. You ain't shit. You just like your daddy. Look at you, nigga. Man, it stopped me in my tracks. I think I was rolling up or something, you know, or chopping it up with a homie while rolling up, talking about, hey, let's get on these spades real quick or something. I was doing something. When I heard her say that shit, man, I stopped, man, my eyes got buck. I looked at this, I ain't gonna call this man, mama at her name, but I was like, man, I looked at this woman and I said, God damn, what the fuck are you doing? And I looked at Pooh and I'm like, God damn. And as it pertains to Blac Chyna and Tokyo Toni, in one of the videos that Jada Black played, you know, I noticed that Tokyo Toni was trying to implement those same tactics. She was trying to, you know, put a spell on Blac Chyna. You know, you disrespecting your mama, you going to hell. If you die today, you going to hell, Chyna. You've never respected me. You on drugs, yada yada yada. This, that, and the third. If you see the video, man, you'll know what I'm talking about. That's a spell. She was how you say wish casting. Wish casting. She was trying to cast a spell on her own daughter. You know, and you know, I never experienced that growing up with my mother or my father. You know, both of my parents, they weren't perfect. You know, they both have their hang-ups as far as being a parent is concerned. But you know, you basically learning on the job. So you know, but they never did something so nefarious as try to cast a spell on me like that. Now, you know, my own mother has tried to cast minor spells on me, you know, in the sense that she'll try to program me in a subtle way, but it was never nothing to that degree. That was anathema and just malicious in the manner in which, you know, Pooh's mom was trying to cast that spell on him. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I do. Y'all brothers, man, if y'all ever hear Baba Tunde Umana speak on Obsidian's podcast or whatnot, or if you ever go to his website, slayingevil.com, and he talks about that witchcraft and shit and how these women are witches and shit, man, there is a lot of truth to that. There is a lot of truth. Now, if you haven't, you know, experienced it yourself, or you don't have a personal reference to examine yourself, just go on YouTube, man, and look up this whole Tokyo Toni and Blac Chyna fiasco. There's your research data right there. But yeah, man, like shit, you know, when the whole Blac Chyna Rob Kardashian thing went down, you know, I never made a video about that shit, but you know, I was kind of going hard on her. But you know, as this shit came to surface, you know, I kind of feel bad for Blac Chyna, man, for real. You know, she had to navigate that landmine of a childhood with her own mother putting out them landmines to, you know, try to make something of herself. I know some of you brothers might say, "Oh, nigga, Ben, you simping, Ben." Now, hear me out, man. Hear me out. Hear me out. I'm not simping. I'm just seeing this shit objectively. You know, if the parent or parents are a piece of shit and they're raising a child, chances are that child is gonna be a piece of shit because that child only has piece of shit references to go by. You know. Not to get too far off in the weeds and shit and get too religious and whatnot, but yeah, Blac Chyna, she knows not what she do, man. She knows not what she do. She's operating in a manner in which that she knows. She knows gutter hood rat shit because her mother was a gutter hood rat bitch. It takes exceptional people to overcome, great odds and whatnot. A lot of people fail. Like 50 Cent said, we all can't win. Some of us gotta lose. And there's a lot of losers out here. A lot of motherfuckers that have been dealt a bad hand. Sometimes you just gotta play the hand that you dealt. You feel me? You're not gonna get a 10 hand, you're not gonna get dealt a 10 hand every time. You feel me? Sometimes shit, when your partner asks you how many you got, you only gonna be able to say shit, I got one in a possible, one in a push. You feel me? And you gotta play that motherfucker. You have to play the card, you have to play the hand that you was dealt. And it's obvious by this whole Tokyo Tony Blac Chyna deal that Blac Chyna was dealt a pretty shitty hand. She was dealt a pretty shitty hand, man. So I can't knock her or down her when she go bored. You feel me? Cause that's all she know. I mean, shit. She took a one in a possible and goddamn got 3-4 books by her goddamn self. You know what I mean? Now, was she on some fuck shit with Blac Chyna? I mean, with Rob? Absolutely. She was on some fuck shit. You feel me? But all she know is fuck shit. Because shit, her point of reference, her mother is a fuck bitch. Keep it trill with you though. But yeah though, man, that's all I wanted to say, man. I just had to make this quick impromptu video. But yeah, this is the xenomorph. This is the matriarchal xenomorph hive mind at work, right in front of your face, man. Tokyo Tony is the queen xenomorph, and one of her xenomorph drones that she birthed, being Blac Chyna, is going against the hive, and she's trying to lay her hocus pocus down to get her back in pocket. But yeah though, it's Benjamin D'Souza, man. Like, share, subscribe.